You know, the Eighth Amendment, which prohibits cruel and unusual punishments, I think is another great example of what we can infer was a deliberately open-ended clause. The framers could have specified particular punishments that were unconstitutional. Instead, they chose this open-textured language, and as the Supreme Court said many years ago, earlier in the 20th century, that calls on its face for interpretation in light of evolving standards of decency in civilized society, expressly referring not only to America but other civilized societies.
To believe that about the Eighth Amendment as well as about the rest of the Bill of Rights, you have to believe this, that what the framers of the Bill of Rights said was, you know, we think certain things are cruel and unusual. Thumbscrews, for example. We don't like thumbscrews. But we want to adopt this clause for the future. You know, if you think thumbscrews are okay, that's fine. This provision is meant to evolve. All the Eighth Amendment really means is, to thine own self be true. Don't do anything that you think is cruel and unusual. That's not what they meant. They meant to establish a standard. They were worried the whole purpose of the entire Bill of Rights was to guard against future generations that they feared might not be as virtuous or as wise as they were. They were not Pollyannish people. And if you think that the evolution always, every day and every way we get better and better, we don't always get better and better. Sometimes we get worse, and the purpose of the Bill of Rights was to prevent that.
I agree. It's an ultimate safety net. We can't retrench to the 18th century, but hopefully we are evolving toward more and more freedom and equality for more people. And that is exactly what the trajectory of this country has been. When you think of where we started,
where is that one-way street, Nadine? Where does it say the only way the Constitution, the Bill of Rights can evolve is in the direction of more freedom? It doesn't say that anywhere. Yeah, and you will find that it has evolved in both directions.
Due process of law, equal protection of the laws is not a ratification for cutting back on fundamental rights or cutting back on equality.
If it is to mean whatever the current society wants it to mean, sometimes it'll give you more liberties, sometimes it will take away liberties. Another area where I'm sure I came out the way your members would like was with respect to the Confrontation Clause of the Bill of Rights, which a Supreme Court that believed in an evolving Constitution had essentially gutted. The Confrontation Clause guarantees to all criminal defendants the right to be confronted with the witnesses against them, which means the witness has to appear in open court and make his accusation in open court and be cross-examined. The court had said all that really means is that any hearsay evidence, that is evidence that isn't personally brought before the court, but somebody comes in and says, oh, he told me so. Any hearsay evidence must bear indicia of reliability. Well, that's not what the Confrontation Clause said. And I'm happy to say, what, two terms ago, we went back to the original meaning, which had been gutted 20 years earlier. We overruled that earlier case and said, no, the Confrontation Clause means what it says. You have the right to be confronted with the witnesses against you. So there, I mean, but my point is, you know, if you fall in love with an evolving Constitution, do not think that it's going to evolve in just one direction. It's going to evolve in both directions.
Well, certainly the Supreme Court has made mistakes, dare I say, throughout history, but the concept is one of morphing in favor of the general principles of equal justice under law. When we go back to the founding of this country, to the Declaration of Independence, to the original Constitution and Bill of Rights, we had those aspirations, but we were so far from achieving them in reality. Need I mention the groups that were completely excluded from actual protection? Racial minorities and women and all kinds of sexual orientation minorities, ethnic minorities. We have seen a history where sometimes it's 2 steps forward and 1 step back, sometimes it's the other way, but the general pattern has been one of more and more freedom for more and more individuals and groups in this society. And what I found so thrilling about the language in Justice Kennedy's opinion, and I don't think of Justice Kennedy as a radical civil libertarian. I doubt that he's a member of the ACLU. I haven't checked our files. And that was the case, of course, that extended equal rights to sexual orientation minorities, lesbian and gay men. And he ended that opinion by talking about, in a constitution that is of an enduring nature, each generation can continue to read and apply and enforce it to achieve greater and greater freedom for more and more people.